Hey everybody, good evening. How are we all? Yeah, I hope you're all doing great. James just popped his head in. I was wondering where you were, mate.
Well, I just went and got a cup of tea and stuff, and then I thought I'd come back, just casual.
Cool. Then we're just going to see a colour casually done as well.
Some casual colouring.
Yeah, we've got a few people in already. We've got 9 people in on YouTube. I don't know how many on Facebook, but I'll bring them up. We've got Angela. All good, getting ready for work. Is that work? You're going out to work now, Angela, or is it you're getting ready for salons opening on Monday? Karen, all good, thank you. Looking forward to the session. So am I. I'm looking forward to seeing what James is going to do with it all. My mum is here. Hey, mum. Lisa, hello, everybody. Tina Gray, hi, guys. Hey, Tina. Oh, and Angela's just replied, yeah, she's getting ready for Monday. Aren't we all? Really exciting.
It's you that sent me a message on Facebook. I will get back to you. I have seen it. I've just had a really busy afternoon. I've been doing some teaching this afternoon. So, sorry, I have seen your message. I just don't have time to respond to it.
Cool. Right. So tonight, guys, I am comparing as James did last week. I can't believe it's a week, mate. I can't believe. Have we been doing this 7 weeks?
I think this is 6 weeks. But yeah, something like that. 6 or 7 weeks. Oh, we think we did a week without doing any colour, didn't we? We didn't do anything 1 week, and then we came back, and we went from there. So yeah, you're right. 7 weeks. It's gone fast, isn't it? It's mega fast,
mate. It's 2 months next week. It's crazy.
Can you believe it? So yeah, time flies. We're having fun, there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And we've got some good things as well, hopefully, to bring you guys in the very near future. We've had a few conversations with things that are buzzing about. So yeah, hopefully we can bring you something exciting. I know we've got a competition or something we can bring you very soon. But
definitely.
Yeah,
we've definitely got some things. People are watching, different people are watching, and they want to be involved in some way or another. And of course, ultimately, like everything that Paul and I does, we want it to benefit everybody exponentially. So you will benefit as much as we will benefit from different people getting involved with this particular show. And obviously, if there is anybody out there watching who is a brand or wants to be involved or maybe wants to sponsor a video and help us bring these videos more regularly, and really kind of schedule out some dedicated time in our days, especially when we're back in the salon, to help kind of bring content to our YouTube channels for a sponsored episode, then get in touch with either Paul or I, and we will definitely be interested in chatting to you.
100%,
we want to keep bringing these. We want to be able to make it a dedicated thing in our week, and we want to be able to make them as high quality and consistent as humanly possible. So we will be able to continue in a lesser capacity. But if someone wants to get on board and help bring the show along, then we would be happy to collaborate, wouldn't we, mate?
100%. Gary's just jumped in and said, "Evening, everybody." Hey, Gary.
Yeah, good stuff. Lovely to see you. I love seeing Paul. I love seeing the repeat faces. I love seeing the
definitely.
People who so nice, isn't it?
And last week when we were talking
in the comment section.
Yeah, because that's what we were talking about last week. When we come off live, we were chatting about it was a great week for questions. So make sure you get loads of questions in, guys, and really engage with us. But there was a lot of newbies. I think we come up with like 10 newbies last week or something.
Yeah. And actually, last week's live, in terms of views of a live, was the best one yet. Over on 700 views this as of today. So that actually tops all the previous episodes that we've done. So very, very good. And obviously that, you guys commenting, liking, repeaters, they all help, for the old YouTube algorithm, the mystery beast that is, to push those videos out there. It's a bit like watching the content. The longer you watch it, the more the YouTube algorithm thinks, oh, that's a good video. We'll share that with other people who are interested in the same content. And this is something I've talked about at the beginning of previous videos and stuff like that. Try your best to watch it for as long as the video is, straight through. And that really kind of boosts. And hitting the thumbs up button is another boost. And leaving a comment is another boost. And all these things kind of add to the picture. So You know, that can be, you know, I'm sure the people who are right here right now maybe already know this from watching my previous videos, but all those things. And don't worry about just me and Paul. This is all creators, anybody that you enjoy watching their content on YouTube, on Instagram. You know, the longer, the more invested, the commenting, the liking, the saving, those kind of things all really help the videos to get pushed further out into the ether. And just, you know, it's a reciprocal journey then. You know, we're doing our part, bringing you the content, and you're doing your bit, you know, doing the kind of things that you obviously don't know about unless we tell you. And I don't think enough YouTubers talk about the background side of it, and how the videos get further out there, and how we get these videos in front of more people. And of course, when people run competitions, like we were just mentioning, you know, the idea behind the things that a competition makes you do, you know, is like it, subscribe, share it with a friend. All those things actually just bolster the kind of algorithm into sharing out that information. So just an insight, you know, because I like to be, I'm sure Paul will agree with this sentiment. Yeah. I like to be open and transparent with you guys about how it all works. You know, it's not a mystery. You know, it is slightly mysterious if you're not involved with it, but you know, why, if we're going to the extent of making the content and bringing the content, why not share with people how you can best help us out too? So hopefully that will give you some good insights. So we've got a few people jumping in here. We've got Tony Candy's back in the house. Anthony's back. Hi guys. Angela, yes. What's this then? It's been it's been the highlight. Seeing YouTube, fantastic. That's very nice. Sam, hello Sam. Jake Hill Atkinson is with us. I don't know if we're related. I doubt it. Oh, it's Jake. Hello Jake. Yes, Jake is a very I'm going to jump in here, Jake. Hello Jake, thanks for joining us. Jake is a fantastic young little enthusiastic budding hairdresser. If you're not following him on Instagram, please go and follow his Instagram. He recently did a thing, you know, where he was wanting a new mannequin head and stuff, and he hit his target and did a crowdfunding thing, hit his target in like less than a day. I kicked that off for him. Jake is super enthusiastic. In fact, back in March, in the very first lockdown, I discovered Jake, or Jake sent me a invitation to watch his live, of which I did, and I joined in and I sat and watched him do some GHD curls. But he has come a long way in a short space of time. In fact, I don't know how old you are, Jake, but he's super young.
13.
So please, 13. Yeah, give him some love, give him some support. We need a new Patrick Cameron in this industry. Patrick Cameron's getting old now. You know, we need some young blood. There are some people who are aspirational. I understand that, of course, but you know, we need an up and coming superhero of British.
Pop your Instagram handle in the comments, Jake, and we'll bring it up on screen for you. But just talking about some brands that we've worked with, we've got Tony from Alan Howard here as well. We've got Emma from Mataki Scissors, and then Gary, like we said, Tony. I'll just bring them all up now. Anthony, Angela with the highlight of the week, which is thank you so much. We enjoy doing this. Sam's in the house, and then obviously Jake. Got Jess. Karen is my college tutor. So hey, Karen. She taught me hairdressing. Tina says,
"Look at you now, Paul."
Pardon?
And look at you now.
I know. I'm online.
I've gone digital.
And then I remember I was in my living room with my phone on my sofa, and that was the first live ever. And then guys, here is his handle, Jake. So Hairstyles by Jake. I'll leave it up here for a bit, and go and follow him, go and engage with his content. I think we became friends just maybe last week, Jake, I think it was. So we've got Wendy in the house as well. So Wendy is Joyco family. So it's great.
Good. The Facebook comments come in later, guys. So if anyone comments on Facebook, like I skipped past a couple that were before Jake Hill there and Sam, because the Facebook ones come in a bit later on the feed. But anyway, at my end, Paul's got all the technical bit at his end tonight, because obviously I'm doing the hair. So just something to be aware of. Just takes a little minute for those ones to kind of kick in. Good stuff. Right then. Well, I've got Paul's haircut with me. Here she blows. And
right, I'm just gonna throw you over, mate, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, cool.
There we go.
Lovely stuff. Right then. So here we are with Jake's haircut. We've got Jake. We should bring Jake on. That's a good idea. Jake, you're coming on our live one day. We'll get you to do some up hair or something. And
hey, Els is also Joyco. We've got Stephanie. Nice. Hey, Stephanie. And then Tony is loving Jake as well. So yeah.
Yes, good stuff. Yes, honestly, well, one to watch for the future. I've got my eye firmly fixed on Jake's progress. So, Paul's haircut. Here we are. Last week, long razor cut layer. Really fantastic, actually. You know what you guys asked for. When I asked what would you like to see me do with it next, there wasn't a great kind of profound. We want to see this. And as I said, when I was talking about that, I was saying that I'd sort of sat in a burger restaurant a long time ago and I'd seen a technique that definitely looked kind of like a mistake or something that someone had done themselves. I couldn't quite work out how it had come about, but I thought that's like 95% something fantastic. So I'm going to do an adaptation of that because I've thought about this many times. I've drawn it out many times. And obviously, like always, when we do our color sessions, this particular part of the session will just the simple application, nothing to just putting in the foils. And then obviously I'll process it off camera, off the live, because we don't want to keep you here all night. And then what we'll do is we'll come back on Friday evening, Paul and I, same time, 9 p.m. GMT, and I will present the finished look to you. I'm going to talk you through what I'm going to do now as I put this pre-section in. And of course, I've been going on and on and on and on for a little while about the 90s, and Paul's the same. And I don't know if anybody remembers kind of the halo sectioning patterns that were very popular for the panel coloring. So we're going to take some of the kind of modern balayage-esque, you know, technique, and we're going to incorporate some of the kind of sectioning patterns that were previously used when we did a lot more panel coloring. So if we look at our section now, what I'm going to do is take a halo section all the way around the head. I'm going to pop a foil into these sections, and we're going to use a back combing technique. Now, I'm really only going to be focusing the lightener of the color through from about 3/4 to 2/3 of the way down the hair, and I'm going to diffuse right back to the roots. And on this fine hair texture, I can actually take fairly large sections because of the nature of this finer hair, especially when I'm back combing to diffuse. So it's going to be a teardrop section. I'm going to show you how that's going to go about in just a second. So if we look how this drops down now into the back of the head, we're going to end up with this shape that's going to be higher at the front, and it's going to drop right down. And this is the hair that I'm going to be coloring through this front panel in the live. Okay, same on both sides. And then subsequently, I'm going to darken this down with a tint. I'm not going to do that on camera because I won't, you know, make you watch me put a tint on. I'm sure you guys are more than capable, or I've seen 1,000,001 tint videos up to this point. So I'm going to tint this area. I'm going to drop this down to a level 7/6. And I'll talk about why /6 in just a second. I'll show you the colors that I'm about to use over here. So what we're going to do with this pre-section, it's really simple, and I don't want it to be you know, too clean and too kind of precise, because that's by nature what I would tend to do with these kind of pre-sections. Lots of people, if I did a video on this, I could hear people saying in the comment section, would you zigzag this section? In this instance, where this hair is going to fall over it and there's going to be a lot of density over it, I just wouldn't zigzag this section because it's not going to add any diffusion that we're going to physically see, because I'm going to be back combing my sections anyway. So we've got to think about that as part of the journey. And if we think ahead slightly, we can save ourselves the aggravation of creating a zigzag section by thinking about where we're going to take this whole look as we move through the sections. Right, let's take out some of these clips. Now we've got our little section, and once I've clipped this up, don't fear, I will be showing you the whole section. In fact, there's a clip in my hand. So if you have any questions, thoughts, feelings, anything you'd like to say at this point in time, then absolutely be my guest. Paul will ping it over to me. He will pop it on the screen, whichever way he wants to go about it. And then I will be obliged to answer your questions to the best of my knowledge. And if I can't answer it, I'm sure Paul will be able to. Between the two of us, you'll leave here feeling satisfied.
Cool. Or, so James Mataki is in. He's saying, great work. Evening, guys. We've got Sam, loves James's colour work. Super buzzing for this. Tony said, me too, Sam. So she's loving your work as well, mate. And then Jake has said he's just started watching on YouTube. So I don't know if that's watching live now, because that's his comments coming through Facebook, or if he's just sort of caught one of us on YouTube.
Good stuff, Jake. Well, either way, mate, whatever you're up to, we love you, Jake. Keep going, mate. Right then. So I'm just going to split this hair into two, okay? Keep it super simple. Anybody that watches my stuff regularly will know that simplicity is the king of what I do. I try and keep everything super achievable, super simple, and you know, and nothing that you couldn't just do in the salon. And what I'm loving about this idea actually, and if we look at the sectioning pattern, let me just fix the focus.
Just jumped in, mate. So she's here on time this week. Just missed the first 10 minutes. But we're literally just starting off. James is just starting off his colour technique now. We've had a bit of a chin wag.
You haven't missed a thing, Hippopotamus. It's gone out of focus. Don't worry, guys. I'm on it. I'm just fixing the focus. Right then, there we go. Set that so it doesn't keep hunting for my face, because we're not here to see me. Okay, so we're looking at this pre-section. It runs down and into the back here. Now, this is going to be a great little technique for blonde clients as well. I'm going to do something creative with this, or sort of commercial creative, hybrid of the both. But a great technique if you've got some blonde clients, you know, that wear their hair up. You could do a few foils like this sort of way throughout this technique, and that would look great when the hair's up and tied up, and it would diffuse, and it would also give them a little pop of color around the front. So that's really where you could use this in a very, very commercial sense, you know, allowing this thin sliver of hair around the front. I don't know how you would necessarily price it. I would probably price this in the kind of halfway between a partial and a T-bar, whatever that is in your salon. Then obviously go for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our section. Now, remember, when we're working with medium density hair here, so we don't have to take really fine sections, because we're going to back comb. We've got a section of about 1 inch roughly. Okay, I'm going to elevate the hair straight up. And remember, Paul had cut this kind of face shape around the front. So that will mean that when we look at this technique, okay, it's going to be shorter at the front here, and it's going to be longer towards the crown area, going backwards. So to make our life easier for back combing instance, because if we hold it up here, right, we hold the ends, it all just falls out. Okay, so if we hold the hair in a position where we can easily back comb the sections. Now I'm going to use like a barbering comb for this, because I do want a very soft diffusion. So I'm going to hold the hair in a way that is going to allow me to diffuse the hair back to the root easily. I've got all the hair in my fingers. I've got that 1 inch section that I took previously, and I'm going to push the hair back towards the root area. Okay, super simple, super easy to do. Once I've done that, I'm going to move the section up slightly, and what I don't want to do is leave behind tons and tons of hair in my section, because I want to get a good amount of lightness through this section. And so it's really, really important that I diffuse it back. And what we want to be doing is creating long brush strokes, or comb strokes in this particular instance, okay? Long and smooth, because when we do that, and this is one of the questions that get asked a lot when people look at techniques like this. They say, how easy is it to get out the back combing? Well, in about 2 seconds flat, without really any kind of conditioner in the hair or anything to aid getting out that back combing, there it is. Okay, so that's the benefit of doing long, smooth brush strokes, so comb strokes. So keep those comb strokes long and smooth. And I like to switch between sides. So I'll back comb one side and the other side if I need to do more than just one swish of my comb. Any questions, mate?
Well, Mazama's just joined, so she's saying hi, guys. So hey, Mazama. But yeah, mate, I've got a sort of like a question comment just to. Tina Gray has said it's lovely and clear tonight, even on the big screen as well. You are really nice and clear tonight, mate. So camera is looking good, mate. But yeah, talking about backcombing, when you hear a lot of stylists saying they don't really do it because of the tangling, that's basically down to the backcomb technique, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That is creating padding that you would use in an up hair rather than just diffusing the hair to create diffusion. Because really what we're doing is we're pushing the majority of the hair back up towards the root and leaving ourselves, and when we comb that out, a diffused line, if you will. So I'll just show you the section that I've applied to there. I've come up about 3/4 of the way up. I've applied, saturated my product through pretty heavily, and then I've used vertical brush strokes to diffuse my line up here. Nice and simple. Just fold that over in half. You don't have, if you don't want to leave it in your client's eyes, you can fold it again. And then if you want to secure it, just pick up a comb and secure the edge like so. Now you'll note that pintail comb wise, no need for a pintail comb with this technique because we're going to be using this big barbering comb, and I'm just using the end of a tint brush. I don't always approach things in the most obvious way, in the sense that, you know, when I do a lot of my balayage techniques with just my hands and no brushes at all. There's loads of those over on my channel. I use lots of spatulas. You know, I do lots of freehand highlights right up to the root with no foil. So I don't necessarily always go about things in the most conventional fashion, but I always like to kind of give you the science and the reason why I would do something like that. And for the instance of this, it's really that unless I'm using a tail comb that's got teeth on it that are as wide as that barbering comb, it doesn't seem to make much sense to have a pintail comb, a tint brush, and, you know, and all these kind of different things. Every time you need to pick something up, it's costing you time, and time is valuable when we're in the salon. So think about, you know, how can you limit the tools that we use? How can we limit the things that we need to pick up? So again, we've got an inch wide section, same rules apply. We're holding the hair out horizontally from the head. I'm going to come in from this side. So I'm on the right-hand side of this mannequin head. I'm going to come from the ends and I'm going to back comb down towards the roots. Really, really super easy. I want a little bit less hair in that section. So I'm going to come round to this side. I'm going to come from the ends again. And I can see that there's a lot of hair. You can see the hair that's just come down there. There's a lot of hair that's already been pulled down. And if I come right from the ends now, I'm going to have not very much hair in the ends of this section, which I want a little bit more than I can see I'm going to get. So I'm going to come about halfway down and I'm just going to push down towards the roots. So a slight change of tack there. This piece of hair has fallen out of the section, so that's okay. You just include it by back combing that individual piece and then bringing that back into the section. Now, when I use the word back combing, I think that's where people get confused slash, you know, worried or do a technique that's not going to be easy to get out. When we are combing the hair through, we call it back combing, but, you know, if you are back combing, obviously back combing is quite vigorous, quite, you know, you're really putting a lot of tension on the hair to do that. We are doing this purely and simply to create diffusion. And I've said it previously, I've just said it a minute ago, but it's one of the things that I really wanted to kind of make sure that I hit home tonight, was that it's about diffusing, not about back combing, because I think there is definitely a lot of confusion out there. In terms of lightener, I've got in the bowl just a blue powder bleach, very, very simple blue powder bleach, and I've got that mixed with 20 volume. Obviously this hair is fairly light. You can see that we're kind of coming in on a level 9. I'm going to get tons of lift no matter what happens here. So we're going to keep the whole process of lifting this super simple. I want to get it up to a clean 10 look through the end. I'm actually going to tone this off camera, like I said, down to kind of a soft pink if I get a clean result. And then I'm going to bring all this down to a level 6/7 in a ash gold shade. Now, ash gold is one of my favorite combinations of colors. And the reason for that is that I like the fact that the ash has got that, obviously made of blue. For anybody that's not necessarily sure, ash is blue. And having that blue tone, keeping everything cooler. And I'm going to go more than 3 shades darker. So in a technical way, I'd probably need to kind of pre-pig this hair or fill it with another color. But when we're turning people's hair gray and steel and colors like that, we're lifting them up to platinum, and then we're putting, we're going in with our silver. If we pre-filled that hair, we'd never achieve these silver gray colors. So things have changed slightly in the way that we understand what we're doing. So I would always be assured to make sure that I've got at least some of my base fill shade in there if I'm going to choose a natural. Okay, if I was going to turn someone's hair gray and I've lifted it to white, then of course I'm just going to go in with a steel color, having pre-pigged the hair in a completely different way, which we're now calling pre-toning. And the pre-toning phase is preventing sludgy green results. Can anybody tell me why pre-toning the hair, if we'd imagine that this is all lifted to a level 10 and we were going to tone her down to a steel level 7, more than 3 shades darker, so then effectively we need to pre-pig. Can anybody tell me why it would be a good idea to pre-tone this hair level 10 before we put on our level 7 ash or steel shade? Can anybody tell me in the comment section what we would pre-tone with and why?
Great question. Great question. And we've got some more, mate. So we've got Tina Gray has asked, I'll bring it up on screen so everyone can see. Do you always backcomb like that, sideways?
Yes and no. I mean, it's dependent. The reason I'm doing it sideways like this, because I'm holding out the graduation, as I mentioned previously. This haircut around the front is cut short to long. So if I'm holding the sections vertically straight up or horizontally straight out, there is a very steep diagonal line traveling shorter towards the face, which then makes it very difficult for me to hold the hair and get a clean, consistent, diffused backcombing effect all the way through the hair. So the main reason I'm doing that is so that I can hold the hair all in one section and get a very clean result. Hopefully that helps.
Beautiful. Hobus Pobus has asked, what would you do with blonde, which has some thin orangey strands in it? Could you use this technique?
What would I do with, so it's been a blonde with thin orangey strands in it. I mean, I personally, if it's like that, I would just use classic highlights.
Yeah.
Take your sections and just pick out the orangey bits, and treat that very first session with your client as a corrective session. Book plenty of time and just go through and get rid of as many as you can, because trying to hit a big section of hair like this when there's only a few sections of orange in the hair, you're going to create a lot of cross damage. You're going to color hair that really doesn't need it.
Yeah, you're not really going to be able to separate. You're not going to be able to use the teeth of the comb back combing and really sort of target the thin orange pieces. So like James said, just pick them out and hit that first and then go in with this technique. Tony Candy has asked, is this balayage?
No. So I'm doing every single section in this front here. And really the differentiating factors between a balayage and anything else is that through the ends of a balayage, if we look at balayage in its purest form, there is dark and light. So there is contrast, whereas anything else kind of falls into the ombre category, which is dark to light, whether it be this dark, level 9, going to something lighter, or whether it be black going into blonde. The two are fading from each other. So I would categorize personally this particular technique in the ombre category, purely based on the fact that there's going to be no contrast in the ends.
Yeah, it's transitional, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep you up to date on the technique, guys. 1 inch section. Okay. Now the haircut shape has changed somewhat. Do you remember that Paul scooped away with his razor on these underneath sections? So I no longer have a short to long section. I've just got this hair that goes from short to long. So a bit like the question that was asked earlier, I think it was Tina that said, do you hold the hair out like this every time? Well, at this point, it doesn't really matter. I can come in now, Tina, because of the shape of the section, I can hold it like this. What I do need to bear in mind, because it was razored like this backwards, I have got some shorter hairs here that will get bunched up into the padding much quicker. I'll show you exactly what will happen. So we're going to take our comb, we're going to push towards the roots. Okay, you can see that there's a lot. If I take her off the stand, no, I won't. I'm just going to fling everything across the room if I take her stand. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Right. If we come in a bit closer, we can see that there's lots of fine, dusty hairs in at the root area here. And that's because of the way that it was razored previously. I'm backcombing the top of the section more than I'm backcombing the underneath. It's going to be hard for you to see that, I think. And we can simply move it towards the light. Maybe you can see that.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, so underneath there's less backcombing because of those shorter razor sections on top. So I'm getting more kind of bulk of the backcombing on the top. That's not a problem. What I do want though is I want even diffusion. So I probably want to come in and just press the underneath the backside of my section as well to create a little bit more diffusion in that backside. So then it doesn't really matter. I don't then have to change the position. There is something else I could do, and I'll show you that on the next section.
Nice. So Karen is talking about backcombing. So do you just backcomb each section of hair? And if you left too much, will it look quite blocky on the colour when finished?
If you left too much, what hair through the ends? Is that in Paul?
So do you just backcomb each section of hair? And if you left too much, will it look quite blocky? So if you weren't, I suppose, if you weren't diffusing it as much as you are, would it look quite blocky?
It wouldn't look as diffused.
Yeah.
You know, to answer the question as simply as possible, it wouldn't look as diffused. Obviously, the more color we push up towards the root area, the more that we create diffusion and therefore less blockiness, as you described. But yeah, it will have a heavier transition if that's what we did. But yeah, to answer your question simply, yes, it would create a slightly heavier effect. Just going to turn my mic down slightly because I can see that when I get excited, it jumps into the yellow.
Peaks. But yeah, just welcoming Casey, the stylist, in. She gave us some love. And she said, yes, my instructor taught me this in school. Cool.
Good stuff.
And now we're on to the answers. We've just been joined by Pia as well. So, hey, Pia. She says, hi, James and Paul. So when it comes to the pre-toning, mate, Purple Pre-Tone by Hobus Pobus, we have got Sam, who is saying, if it's blue-based, then to stop it turning muddy/green and disgusting.
Yep. And disgusting. Imagine that saying that to your client. I forgot to pre-tone this, and it's looking disgusting.
Angela said gold.
Gold, yeah, you can put some gold in there, yeah.
She's also said beige, golden, violet. Tina Gray replied to your answer and said, thank you, she sees. Ah, I see. Hobus Pobus has come back and said, so when you put the tint in, how will you colour the fluffy backcomb pieces?
After this is washed out. When I tone everything that's been washed out in the front here. So when I come off air afterwards, I will tint this area here. But then when I come to tone, which will be tomorrow now, because it'll be late by the time I come off here. When I come to tone here, I'll use the same root color that I did here, and I will blend the two together. Now, obviously, if we're in the salon, when we come to color this area here, I would probably say to myself, right, tint this all. Yeah. If we were going to do this on like salon speed, commercial speed, do your highlights around the front or your lighter pieces around the front. Okay. Jump in, tint this all in the same time frame. And then when we come to wash out this area, I would wash this out independently of the rest. Okay. This area here. You could at that point probably come along, take out your lightest pieces, the ones you started on first of all, with a damp towel, comb the roots down, and then while you're waiting for the rest of it, come through and tint out your root area if you wanted to. And you have to be quite thorough if you're going to tint over what was previously backcombed, because you won't get it all out. But in my personal opinion, the way that I would approach this, even in salon, I would do my lighter pieces, tint this crown area, and then the pieces of fuzzy hair, as described, I would tackle those whilst I tone this area here. So the same way I'm going to do it tonight, but I would just do it at the backwash, or I would do it before I moved on to the next sections. You know, because in the virtue of a creative technique like this, okay, if we're going to use it commercially, and we're going to say use a technique where maybe we just put foils in this for a client that wants to be just like a blonde halo, like I'm backcombing and teasing. You don't necessarily have to backcomb and tease. You could just put foils in this particular section, and it would just be great for those clients that just want a refresh of everything they can see, or they wanted a pop of brightness around their face. That would be excellent for those people. But in the virtue of the way I'm using it musically, and it's really important that obviously we've got a kind of set reason to do that. And for this particular, you know, idea that I came up with, that I saw in a burger restaurant in Brighton, you know, it was definitely more of a creative look that I was looking at. And so therefore I've kind of gone at it like that tonight. But in my sketches and my drawings and all the times that I've kind of thought about doing this particular technique, you know, I have thought of all the commercial viable uses for it. And in an ideal world as well, having done the this color here, the bulk of the dark in the top, and having left this out, if there's any demarcations or something that's not perfectly blended in, it gives me a chance to fix it there and then, because I'm not a robot. Not everything I do comes out perfectly every single time, but I will get the opportunity to go back and fix things. And so that's why I would take on this particular job in that style, because if I'm not happy with the back comb or the blend in some way, if it looks blocky, like the person said earlier, I have given myself, built into my appointment, the time to fix stuff. Yeah, because it doesn't always go to plan. No, you know, with the greatest intentions in the world, things I do on a daily basis don't always go as I imagine them, because I take on a lot of color corrections. I take on a lot of colors that, you know, I'm sort of doing with a pinch of salt, if you like. You know, I do a lot of things where people have been to other salons, and I build into my times always opportunities to fix stuff.
Yeah, big thing that. And I think that's one of the hardest things that stylists, colorists in particular, because the jobs can sort of evolve into something bigger than that's originally booked. I think it can become a little bit overwhelming, but it's just, you've got to understand just to factor in that time. And if it can't happen on that day, there is something you can do to ease the pressure, sort of like prep it for another appointment.
Yeah.
Mazama's just come in and said, if someone's got greys, can we use this technique?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on obviously what you're trying to achieve with their greys. You know, if you wanted to cover their grey, then obviously you'd need to tint the rest of their hair. If they've got grey hair, you know, through the ends, for instance, you know, you're obviously going to lighten that grey hair and therefore turn it blonde and create some grey hair blending. You may have to deal with this, but this is like a highlighting technique or a balayage technique or an ombre technique. You know, they don't specifically deal with grey hair in their own right. You have to obviously go back and deal with grey hair independently of the lightening technique.
Cool. And Tony's just said, would it work on my greys? So if Tony's got special greys, then
And it will work on your greys as well as it will work on Paul's.
Yeah, she just laughed out loud. We've got Crow's Nest in tonight. So Crow's Nest is Jason Crozier. Do you know Jason?
I don't actually know.
So Jason is a session stylist. I actually did a live with him, I think in the second lockdown, just on Instagram, right. And we were talking about digital content and the industry changing. But yeah, great to have you on board, mate. And I know he's got a seminar coming up about digital content coming soon. So yeah, if he wants to pop it in the comments, let the guys see when it is, mate, and we'll let them know to join.
Good stuff, Jason. Well, hopefully one day, when this mad COVID thing is, subsided or whatever it's going to do, and we can go back to some kind of normality, there's actually loads of, and I know loads of hairdressers, but it's such an enormous industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we think about it in reality of how many people are out there we just never heard of, and it's just mind blowing how many hairdressers, you can come by. And whenever I go to big events, and you'll know this, Paul, and you kind of see somebody and then they're like, oh, that's so-and-so. And you're like, Christ, how have I never met this person?
Yeah.
I never come across this person. So really interesting. Nice. Thank you for joining us today, Jason.
But yeah, I mean, digital's brought everyone closer together, hasn't it? It's made the industry and the world smaller.
Yeah, that's right. Well, one of my favorite sayings of the moment is that in this digital age, this age of being so far apart as we've ever been, we are as close together as we have ever been as well. So we're physically far apart, but our digital lives have brought us even closer. So it's amazing. So we're moving on to the opposite side now. Remember, this hair is thicker, and because of the shape of the cut, we're going to have to hold it horizontally again. And so we're just going to make sure that we kind of pad this hair out. We backcomb one side, and then we come to the opposite side. And again, this hair's fallen out. So we'll just hook it back out, and we'll deal with that in just a second. Don't leave it hooked up like that. Pop that over here. Okay, spin it around so you guys can see. Take that section and just deal with that section independently. Pick up the section and then just make sure that it's easy to apply the product. Now, on some of the sections, if it's a bit thicker, what I'll do is I will pre-paint my foil. So I'll put lightener straight onto my foil. That will just mean that it's easier to saturate. So as I put my color down now, I'm going to ensure that I've got product all the way through my sections. And that is always making things. Saturation, guys, is the king when it comes to pre-lightening hair. If we can get enough product on the hair, we'll always get better results. We might not get the result we wanted because the hair might stop us from doing that, especially if they've got some older hair problems that we're trying to fix. But we will get the maximum benefit from the lightener if we get enough on the hair. And one of the ways that I like to think about it, especially when I'm doing freehand techniques, is that if I can see the hair through my section, so the hair that I've just painted, if I can see the hair through that section, there's not enough lightener on the hair. A nice saying that a friend of mine always says is thicker equals quicker. To a greater degree, that's true and not true, but I like the way that it just reminds you to put it on thicker. Thicker doesn't necessarily make the product work faster, but it will keep the product working for longer. And obviously, we're in the game of keeping the product working for as long as humanly possible, or obviously within the manufacturer's guidelines.
Cool. I mean, I do use that where thicker is quicker, and it's basically to make people understand that the more product you put on, because if we're working with a really watered down bit of lightener, and you can, like you said, you can see your hair through it, it's going to be a really slow lift in comparison to what you're expecting, isn't it? Because you haven't got the saturation there. So thicker is quicker only if you've got enough product on the hair, to be honest. Hobus Pobus, she's talking about old Guy Tang. So she once saw Guy Tang colouring the fuzzy bits whilst the bleach was developing, but I didn't understand how that worked. Your way, much more logical. Do you think that burger girl was DIY?
I think she was DIY. I was sat in a burger restaurant in Brighton, and it was one of those places where you have to like order and then you sit down, and you know they don't come to your table, and so the queue gets really long. Not now. It would be like if the burger restaurant was now, it would be like down the road because it used to be really long anyway. So if we're 6 feet apart, they'd be like 600 people, like 600 feet, sorry, down the road, which would take you out the burger restaurant. It would look good for the business, you know, it looked like the burger restaurant was super busy, and she was just like going along the queue inch by inch, and I was already sitting down. And basically she had this like halo of like, it looked like she had a Pink Alice band on with like a diffused root. It obviously grown down, but it sort of fed into the back as well. And it didn't quite work. It was obviously been done in a way, the section was done in a way that it was disjointed at this point, and she had this dark panel. And I thought if that was fluid back to front, I'd actually really like that. Yeah. And I think it was something that she'd obviously, or a friend of hers that might not have been a hairdresser, had come up with, and they'd just done it themselves. They looked like that kind of, you know, Brighton, grungy kind of, you know, indie style, which is great. They do definitely do some, I've got a hair. They definitely do some cool things that I've always like, you know, watch them walk down the road and I examine, you know, what they've done with their hair. Because I always think, here's the thing, right? Fashion, trends. Love fashion and trends. One of my biggest topics that I love talking about, and I talk about in so many of my classes. Okay, so we're going to just do a quick question. Who sets the trends? Who sets the trends?
Great question. I'm not answering it. You guys can answer it. Let's see it in the comments, guys. But we've got a question from Karen J. Could you do this off natural side parting? So that was one of the things from last week, Karen, as well. I had to change my haircut up mid-haircut because you guys wanted to see me not cut middle. You wanted to see a side parting. So great question to throw at James. Could you, James?
And to answer it is yes, you can do this in any parting you like. I happen to start in the middle. But because of the solid nature of the technique and the diffusion, you can then just put the parting in wherever you want. It doesn't make any odds.
Yeah, cool. Crow's Nest has just said, "Hey guys," when we were talking to him tomorrow at 8 p.m. He said, "Great colouring skills, James." But tomorrow at 8 p.m, I take that it must be on the YouTube channel that's on the screen now. So Crow's Nest. If any of you guys want to know any digital stuff, head on over there. We've been joined by St. Mark. So hey, she said, hey, I made it.
Hi, St. Mark.
And Tony Candy. If a person has dark hair, olive skin, like brown skin all year round, and green eyes, what colour would you use in their hair? Are you describing yourself? Are you describing yourself, Tony? Is this a consultation?
Not ash, Tony. Not ash. Never ash. Okay, steer away from the ashes. You know, because it just washes people out. So anything other than ash, they can have anything they want. Just go the other side of the ash spectrum. You know, your coppers, your caramels, your muted, warm colours, but not ash.
Cool. Gary has just said the younger generation. Is that down to
the question? I think that's the question.
Oh,
and for all intents and purposes, anybody else is tapping away on their keyboards right now, great. Keep going. But for all intents and purposes, Gary's right. Okay, it's the girls that live in Hoxton and Peckham and Manchester and Leeds and who, you know, Brighton, wherever they live, it doesn't matter, right? But it's the girls that are like pushing the boundaries, that want to be different. The minute somebody else copies what they're doing, they've ditched it. It's so far in advance of what we're doing, what we're seeing, that we never even absorb it. We never even get to see it because they've moved on, because they are actively trying to be individuals, right? But then what happens is you get like fashion spotters and people that go around deliberately looking for these people. And the reason I name those big cities is because they're the big cities that they tend to go and hang out in and spot these youngsters who are trying to push the boundaries of individuality and being different. Yeah, so they go out and they look for these guys who are doing different things to the hair. Like I saw this girl standing in the queue at the burger restaurant, you know, the reality is that, you know, that is something that, you know, could be a trend if then a fashion spotter sees it. And the cycle really goes, and because what a lot of people would actually normally come to me and say is that celebrity is the biggest driver of trends, but actually things have changed so much now.
Yeah.
And obviously with the insights of Instagram and stuff, you know, a lot of these fashion spotters don't spend so much time walking around the streets looking for people. They just jump online and follow, you know, girls with their Instagram accounts, you know, what am I wearing this week type of Instagram accounts. And also just Instagram accounts that obviously, you know, girls are being very individual and standing out. And so that tries to influence the changes in. So you've got these, you know, you've got these girls who are like, you know, super different, and they're the ones that probably, you know, are the ones who are really pushing the trends for a greater extent. And then you've kind of got the Instagram girls that have got big followings who are deliberately copying what the cool kids are doing to kind of look like cool kids. That's why you've got all these girls with like 200,000 or 300,000 Instagram followers now walking around like they've just dropped straight out of the 90s. You know, and so therefore they've just picked up on what these kids were doing, and they've get, you know, these 18, 19, you know, even 17-year-olds that were doing like a couple of years ago. They've picked up on that now, and they're kind of like, oh, you've seen the 90s, it's so fashionable. But the kids who were doing it previous to them, given up on it. They're like, whoa, you've seen this Instagram post, you know, we've moved on. You know what I mean? So this is what happens. And then, of course, those guys, Instagram influencers or, you know, YouTube influencers or whatever platform, TikTok, you know, they then pass that information on, and then that information then goes to the high street. And the last person in the chain really now is a celebrity. You know, celebrity culture. When was the last time you guys can remember someone bringing you in a picture of a celebrity haircut? How long ago was that? Paul, can you remember?
No, mate. Years ago, it was always like Posh Spice, Cheryl Cole, Megan Fox, and now I'm just trying to think. And David Beckham for the gents, but I'm trying to think.
The last one for me was the Pinky Blinders.
Yeah,
that was Kim the last time.
Kardashians, mate. They're big.
The Kardashians. I
don't know if you've heard of the Kardashians.
My neck of the woods.
Yeah,
we don't get many Kardashian requests, but you know, it's limited compared to what it used to be. You know, now I get pictures of people's Instagram accounts.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the biggest things at the minute, I don't know if it's because the pandemic we're in, but I was getting a lot of newsreaders, and I don't know if it's because people were watching the news.
Just because there's nobody else on TV.
Yeah, like I had Boris. No, I didn't have Boris.
Boris. Boris.
But Hobus Pobus has just said regarding your question, according to the Devil Wears Prada, it's the top fashion houses, trickles down to mainstream. Brighton is super cool, and that's so funny. You're nicking their ideas. Yeah, like that's it. What James said, it used to be. It used to. I mean, I did a live on Monday, and I was talking about my inspirations, and I don't get it from Fashion Week anymore. I don't get it from music because it's always a little bit too late. I'm looking at more sort of organic trends sort of just appearing everywhere. Pia has said Jennifer Aniston. Yeah, Jennifer Aniston, the Rachel was a big thing.
That was huge, wasn't it? I mean, that was massive.
Sanj has joined us. He says, hey.
Who's joined us? Oh, Sanj. Hi, Sanj. You all right? Yeah, the Jennifer Aniston was massive. I mean, I thought that because of the 90s vibes, about 18 months ago, I did a YouTube haircut, you know, sort of Jennifer Aniston tribute. It's been pretty popular in terms of views and stuff. Did it come back into fashion? Not specifically, but I'm still holding out sort of the idea that it will, because I think we're seeing more layers coming through now. You know, the kind of one length, you know, vibes are becoming a little bit more taking a backseat, which will push balayage trends out the door, because it's very difficult to balayage a really heavily layered or even a layered hair. I mean, trying to balayage a shag haircut, for instance, is really, really difficult. I mean, you know, it becomes really difficult. So you've got to think differently now, guys, and techniques like this will become more and more important.
Yeah, I did a video about the Rachel haircut because John Legend's wife, I can't remember her name now, she had it. Miley Cyrus having the version. Gigi Hadid. They're all going for a bit more heavily layered haircuts at the minute. So, yeah, you're going to see balayage this is why chunky colours coming in. I think because there's a bit more precision to the sectioning and a bit more vibrancy, and I don't know. I was going to say the word punchy then. Just that punchy colour. Big, whoa.
It's because it's been a bank holiday, Paul. You've been on the old Stella Artois all weekend, haven't you? That's it.
All weekend, mate. What? Yeah. What day is it? Wednesday. Yeah, finished yesterday. But Tony replied and said yes. So it was Tony. She was saying about herself, and she usually uses red or purple.
Red or purple, yeah. I mean, they're warm colours. They've got red. Red is, purple has got red in it. Warm colours, obviously, are the way forward. I think it's, for me, when you see somebody with dark skin tones, and then they've got, muted beiges, really ashy blondes, stuff like that. It just doesn't. It's not natural because they'd never have that naturally, And people say to me all the time, what would suit me? What do you think would suit me? I do consultations with people, and they come in and because they've generally now found me off the internet, they say to me, they throw the ball in my court and they say, what would suit me? And I say, well, to a greater degree, what would suit you is your natural color. But that's not why you're here, is it? Because in reality, if we're not using makeup and fake tan and stuff like that, generally people suit their natural color, And I think it's especially as women get older and their hair goes grey, the melanin's dying out. It's dying out in the skin as well. So, if they're continuing to use the same sort of makeup they used 20 years ago, they're going to have to use the same hair color they used 20 years ago because, the reality is that probably they looked all right at that point in time, but everything's changed. And, same for men. I'm talking about women, but, it's the same for men. And men don't tend to colour their hair quite in the same way. Obviously, that is growing in terms of popularity. But I always think that actually men look way more unnatural than women do. And I think men actually age much better if they just leave well alone with their hair colour, and just unless they're making a statement and they've dyed it blonde or whatever and they're going down that. But I think you come to a certain age where that doesn't look all that either, like Paddy McGuinness with his blonde hair at the moment. I don't know if anybody's seen that. It just looks fundamentally, it just doesn't suit him. Whether he likes it or not, that's fine. Good for him. Go for it. You know what I mean? Like, that's up to him. But fundamentally, it just doesn't suit his skin tone. I've been watching Top Gear religiously, and I cannot believe he's got his dark hair back. It just suits him so much better because it sort of defines him.
Yeah. P has just said she's given her age away, but the Purdy.
Ah, the Purdy. What a haircut. One of my favourites. I've got the Purdy haircut on my channel. And what an absolute beauty. What a beauty. Yeah. In fact, the Purdy was the inspiration for my first ever Newcomer of the Year British Hairdressing Awards collection.
Was it?
Yeah. I sort of did a very modern take on the Purdy with a sort of disconnected, like points at the sides and cut like this absolutely brutal Purdy over the top of it. For many, ever since I started my YouTube channel, I have been systematically kind of filming, if you will, a sort of semi-documentary, I guess, of like places that I've worked as a stylist, things that inspired me and changed my journey. I don't know if I'll ever release it. It was turning into a movie, to be honest, because of, there's so many parts of it. But maybe in like 50 years time, I'll chop it up and make it into some kind of documentary style, almost a movie, because even at this point in time, there's like 6 hours worth of footage.
Nice. Netflix. Sell it to Netflix.
Yeah, it's a Netflix drama. But yeah, it's sort of but in that is a segment where I talk about that collection and the haircuts that came out of that collection and how that actually really changed my career, not in a good way at the time. In fact, at the time, in a bad way. It drove me out of the industry rather than further into it. But yeah, it's well, we've all got a journey. We've all been on a journey, haven't we? We've all got stories to tell.
Yeah,
and I've
definitely.
sort of been going along instead of vlogging all through the journey. I've made I'll make a sort of feature-length film when I'm older.
Love that, mate. It's a goal, isn't it?
It's a goal. Yeah, that's right. That's it. Exactly that. So here we are. Nice and simple, nice and quick. I mean, we've done a lot of talking. We're bang on an hour now. So, you know, if you're going at full speed in the salon and you were not talking about this, that, and the other, obviously you can get this done pretty quickly. But give you a little insight into how it's lifting there. You can just lean back. Yeah, we're up to a sort of 9/10. So we're gonna let that process for a bit longer. And then when we come off air, I'll drop this tint on this area. And then obviously let this all process. It's probably going to take another sort of 30 to 50 minutes for it to process, because it's mannequin hair, even though it's very light, to get it to a clean blonde that I can stick a sort of dusty pink over. I'll talk quickly about the tones I'm using. So I've got some, I've just stood on a piece of metal, excuse me. It's gone in my foot, it's all right. So the tones I'm using are 7-1 ash. Let's just get that into the picture. There we go. 7-1 ash and 6-3-1. So I'm going to be using about 30 grams of this to 10 grams of the 6-3-1. The 3-1 is obviously just to put the warmth back in. I'm going to be going more than 3 shades darker. I want an ashy end result, but I don't want green. So the 3 being the primary color, also being a bit the primary shade of the 6, and it being a darker shade means that there'll be a lot of gold in there. The darker the color, the more warmth the tone is, or the more tone the color has because it's darker. So that will be there to create my fill shade, if you will. But the ash will, and the 7 will obviously kill it in our finished result, and therefore we'll have a nice, and what I want is a muted brown on a level just the other side of a 7, just leaning up towards a 6, but not an actual 6, so that I can put like a sort of dusty pink over the top of this when I come to tone the ends. Obviously on Friday, when we come back, Paul and I, you will get the opportunity to see that as a finished result. So we'll be back again at 9 p.m. GMT. Are there any questions that have come through, Paul, while I've been talking?
Yes, mate. So everyone's saying they love the feather cuts when we were talking about texture and the Rachel. But St. Mark has said, what is your preferred hairstyle / haircut for yourself?
Good question, St. Mark. Well, to be honest, I don't really have a preference. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I am as about a high maintenance as a hamster. I just, you know, for me, what I dress 99.9% of the time in black, and that is a personal choice thing. Okay, and it's about taking one thing out of my day that stops me being productive. Because if I add, like, if I say, right, I walk to my wardrobe and I've got all these choices, and then I say to myself, right, well, I wear this and I wear that. That takes time, effort, and energy to think about. And then, like, when you come to like washing your clothes, if all your clothes are black, they'll just go in the same wash. So that saves time. And, you know, for me, my life, I'm 33, for anybody that doesn't know how old I am. Okay, my life for me is about fitting as many things into it as humanly possible that are not necessarily going to add to the overall picture when all is said and done. You know, so that's like when I'm an old man and I look back at, you know, times in my life, I'm probably not going to remember that I was wearing that denim jacket for 6 months in 1980. I don't know, 9. I mean, you know, I was 2 at that time, but, you know, like, I'm just being, you know, like, but those things, just when we look at our life as a whole, they just don't add up and they don't really matter. And so my personal hair, it goes from kind of like this to maybe like there, and then shorter again, and then down again, and then kind of triangular cut short over my ears. And I mean, you know, I'm going a bit bald, you know, I'm losing hair pretty rapidly around my front hairline. I've got a lot of hair, so it sort of covers it up. And if I lost my hair, I wouldn't be like devastated. It wouldn't really bother me, because it's not, it doesn't make me as a person. People remember me for my hair, but because I just wear it like Nutty Professor. There's a guy, there's an eminent scientist. He's on the BBC all the time. He wears really circular little glasses. He's receded back to about here somewhere, and he wears his hair, it's like all curly, and he just wears it up like like a mad professor. And I think, what an absolute legend you are, because, you know, he's just, you know, like he's just rocking. He could clearly just shave it all off. I mean, you know, it's so far back. It's like Bill Bailey backward, you know, like down here somewhere. But,
yeah,
you know, and I think to myself, so I don't think about it until I'm like, look at my hair one day in the mirror and I'm like, I'm a hairdresser, someone should cut my hair. You know, like that is when I think about it. Or, you know, it's looking really unwieldy. And it's not in a shape of some description, you know, like now it's not bad, it's okay, you know, it's a shape, it's round, it's, you know, it's fine. But as soon as it gets a bit longer than this and it gets a bit down here, unless I actually have it cut for that kind of style, and it starts to look a bit strange. So great question, but my answer to that, and my general answer to all of those kind of, you know, I actually get comments on my YouTube channel. People say this to me, they say, you know, they make comments about, you know, my fashion sense or the way I look or the way I dress. You know, I've got comments on there, not in a positive way. And I always have the same answer. I always say to them, I am not, this isn't the James Atkinson show. This is the life of hair. You know, I'm not, let's say, Brad Mondo, who lots of people, when you look in his comments section, talk about the outfit he's wearing.
Yeah.
You know, my good friend of mine, Elliot Forbes, you know, got a big YouTube channel. Lots of people say, you know, can we appreciate Elliot's outfit today? I wouldn't want those comments. I have come on there to help you guys earn more money, have a less stressful day. And so it's not about me. And so, and the fact that that takes one, you know, thing off my day, I don't have to think about what I wear. All my T-shirts are black, bar 2. All my trousers are black, bar 1 pair. I've got 2 blue jackets and I've got 1,000 black jackets. I just pick up a black jacket, black T-shirt, black pair of trousers, and done. And I'm away in split seconds because it's always going to look black.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Paul has got similar, you know, things that he does in his life to do more productive things with his life, but that's for me. So I hope that gives you an insight.
Yeah, no, similar, mate. I mean, yeah, I wear black most of the time, and sometimes, like tonight, I'm not. I'm wearing dark grey. So like, I mix between the colours, and yeah, black is.
Go on, yeah, go on. You make. Sorry, I was just gonna. I was gonna say something that you were privy to this, Paul. We were talking to a friend of ours. We would do some work for a guy called Lee, and he was like, maybe you guys could wear white T-shirts. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And the haircut will stand out better. And I was deathly quiet. I was just like, I wasn't saying anything because I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to buy a white T-shirt.
Yeah. And I've got white T-shirts, but yeah, I've got one white sweatshirt that I just had. So yeah, but yeah, I know what you mean. But
I've just seen Hippopotamus jumped in there. Yeah, I do. They you know, they're like, you know, you should be more fashionable. You should dress, you know, whatever. I'm like, well, I mean, you know, it's got black on. You know, I mean, it's I don't know.
Right. Black is the new black. That is what it is. Like,
yeah. Black is always black. Any questions?
Yes. So we have Maxine. She joined and she said another thing men can get away with is grey hair. Debbie Ann has said, I'll bring it up on screen so you can see. There was Maxine. Debbie Ann has said, do you think the camouflage colours aimed at men are any good? Yeah,
I do colour a few men. I don't necessarily love colouring men's hair, but I use colour camo from Redken in salon. Does it look all right? Yeah, it looks all right. I just don't like men colouring their hair specifically. I'm just not a fan personally. I just wouldn't do it myself. But is there anything wrong with it? No. You know, and what do the colour camos look like? Well, they're generally, there's 2 types. There's neutral and ash. They're both ash, basically. You know, the neutral is very ashy and the ashy is very ashy. And in fact, you know, and they can look too dark. And so for me, I would rather use a demi-permanent 9 times out of 10 in an ash tone. So it's not quite as ashy, and maybe have a little bit more of a translucent coverage, because as soon as you dye a man's hair too dark and they're naturally grey, remember their skin tone's lost melanin. You're looking like you've coloured their hair. It all just goes pear-shaped, in my opinion. So I use them, yes, but I use them because the client doesn't want to wait for a demi-permanent to process, and that's the only reason.
Yeah, they're literally like 3 to 5 minutes, aren't they? They're great for that, but yeah, just a bit boot polish sometimes.
Yes, yeah, a bit just for men.
Yeah. Hobus Pobus has said, have you ever done any men who have had hair transplants, or do you know anything about it?
Yes, I've done men with hair transplants. In fact, I've got several clients with men with hair transplants. Varying prices, varying styles. So I've got one gentleman with the rows, the tracks, and his head feels all kind of ridgy, and they're individually implanted like sprouts. You can't cut his hair too short. Did they look good? They look good when his hair's dry. They don't look good when his hair's wet, but that doesn't matter, I suppose. But you know, because you can see the individual scar marks where they've been implanted. What else? Yeah. So then I've got a guy that went to Turkey and had his hair done out there in a fairly reputable clinic, and it looks quite good, But what I will say, and I'll tell you about the other guy that I know, and I won't. He went to Harley Street, had his hair done there, same place that a lot of celebrities get their hair done. Great results, fantastic. Great friend of mine, this guy, and he's fully aware of this now himself. But his hair is receding behind what he had done, and obviously that's now. So he's got the thicker front piece, but he's got the thinner hair behind. So
Wayne Rooney, isn't it?
Say again.
Wayne Rooney, he's had 3 or 4 of them to combat that.
Right, yeah. Well, what I know about those particular individual implants, so that they both the guy that went to Turkey and the guy that went to Harley Street, they have their head shaved and they have individual follicles plucked. Takes 8 hours a side, so it's 2 full days of just having your hair plucked and transplanted. They put the finer ones on the front, and they put the thicker ones towards the back, or the double follicle ones towards the back. But yeah, there's behind now. So a lot of clinics seem to say, wait until your hair's fully kind of, diminished and fallen out, especially if you're on the younger side. I suppose if I went, they'd say, wait a few more years. I would be like, bald as a badger's what's it by then. So I probably wouldn't give the monkeys if I was going to go down that road. But at the same time, he's lost the hair behind. The other chap that went to Turkey, interestingly, his hair was obviously still thinning out in the front. So the hairs that he had put in have remained, and his hairline hasn't got any more behind, but the hairs that were in the front of his head have also shed. So he looks thin there again, but he's kept seemingly the hairs that they transplanted and lost the hairs that he would have lost anyway.
Yeah.
So inconsistent mixed results. I wouldn't necessarily be a huge advocate of it. If it made you feel more confident and happy with your own, personal self as a man, then be my guest, fill your boots, go and get it done. But it's definitely not bulletproof. I think I'd go, if I was going to go down that route, I'd probably go down the kind of toupee, the modern stick-on job, because they look fantastic. If it's done well, they look absolutely knockout. I've got a friend of mine who's been bald for as long as I know him. And then one day turned up with this thing on his head, and actually it literally made him look 20 years younger and about 500 times more confident. So on that note, if it's not making you feel very happy, then probably that's the way forward, in my opinion. Yeah,
I've got a few clients that have got them, but also a lot of clients who have got them that have had them cut really badly, wonky. It's down to skill level education, and that's what we're trying to do with our channels, mate, isn't it? So
that's right.
One more, mate? One more from Gary. Are you using the same 7 base on the roots below the halo?
Yeah. So I use the same level 7 color on everything that is outside of these foils.
And that is it, guys. That is all the questions. If there's no more.
Good. Yeah, doesn't look like it. Great stuff. Good. Black is my happy color.
Yeah,
good. Well, guys, thank you very, very much for your time. As always, it's always massively appreciated you giving up some time in your day to come and hang out with us, whether it's your morning, where it's the middle of the night, whether it's your afternoon or whether it's your evening, if you're this side of the Atlantic Pacific, then thank you very much from both Paul and I. We always appreciate you joining us. And don't forget, as I said, mentioned before, Friday night on Paul's channel, 9 p.m. GMT, we will be showing you the final color result from this particular session. All finished, all done. Then the following Wednesday, 9 p.m. GMT, join us on my channel, The Life of Hair, for a new hairstyle for this mannequin. And then obviously I'll send it back to Paul. Now, what I'd love to know on Friday is what you'd like to see me do in terms of a haircut to this mannequin head, whether it be short again, long, whatever you want it to be. Let me know on Friday, or you can throw it in the comment section after we've gone off air, because if you throw it in the comment section now, we can't see the chat once it's gone, and it's difficult to kind of see what's being voted for. So do make sure you do that after the video or on Friday when we get to see you again for the finished result. Over to you, mate. Anything to add?
No, I was just going to say that I can't wait to see what they want to see haircut wise, and then I'll be colouring in 2 weeks' time today. So looking forward to that. We've had a comment saying the shag haircut, which we've done a lot. We've done it a lot on our channel, haven't we? The shag haircut.
Yes. Yeah. I'm shagged out.
Yeah. The one I did last week was a little bit sort of shaggy. So if you want to go and check out last week's,
if I can come up with if there's lots of shag requests, as long as you don't mind me being creative with the technique, then yeah, I'll do one.
But Maxine is a new fan. So, hey, Maxine, thank you for joining us. She's from San Francisco, California.
Hi, Maxine from San Francisco.
Love that. Hobus Pobus is giving us the emojis. Saj is saying, thanks, guys. Angela, something like the Mazzella and Palmer pic that she sent you, James.
Yes, I can do that haircut. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no,
yeah.
Here it is. We've had it. Debbie has Boris.
Boris. I can definitely cut a Boris for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, that Mazzella and Palmer one is from what collection is that from? Can you remember? People can go and look it up and see if they want to. It's short, it's geometric, it's kind of disconnected in the side. Yes, it's a very strong, bold haircut. So, like, you know, if you guys want some inspiration, look, you know, I have got a Sassoon heritage. I do geometric coming out my ear holes. So if you want something really strong and brutal and precise, then fine, you know. But obviously, what I will say about all that stuff is it does lure you away from commercially friendly haircutting because of the sort of nature of it. So if you just want to see a spectacle of, you know, brutality and geometricness, then what Tina had just jumped in with there. Was it Tina that said that? Yeah. Then yeah, no, it wasn't. It was Angela. You know, then, you know, that's great. But if you want something a bit more user friendly, then as always, I try and mix commercially friendly with precision, you know, and kind of create something in the middle, as does Paul. But yeah, you know, if that's what you'd like to see, then I'm all here.
Cool. Yeah, people say Hobus Pobus said yes, geometric. Everybody's loving the lives, and we are too. I mean, I'm so glad that me and James have finally collabed. Like James, I mean, if you weren't on here a few weeks ago, James, we met obviously years ago, and James said one day when we were at Redken that we are gonna collaborate. We just don't know with what yet, and this is it.
Yeah, this is it. I knew back then. In fact, for anybody that didn't know that story, I wasn't there for that story. Paul had come to work in Del Boy's jacket. Literally, anybody who doesn't know who Del Boy is, if you're not from the UK, right, look it up. Del Boy, only fools and horses, right? Think sheepskin coat in camel, yeah? So he'd come in...
You're not selling it, mate.
No. Paul wore it well, okay? But listen, I felt like Del Boy in it, so I put it on, And I was like walking up and down, being Del Boy, like, "Hey." Yeah. And then like Paul's just looking at me like I've lost the plot. He's over at the basin area, just laughing his head off. Our boss walks in at the time, Thea. She was like, "What are you doing?" Like, we were like, and then it was. I said to Paul, I said, "You tell you what, one day we will collaborate. We will do some form of collaboration." And I actually said to Paul in that statement, I said, "We'll be like Mazzella and Palmer, but better." Yeah, I actually said that to him. It's funny that obviously Angela's talking about Mazzella and Palmer there. I mean, Mazzella and Palmer, for anyone that doesn't know them, they're absolutely fantastic. We'll never be anything but in their absolute awe. They are amazing. We'll never try and trump them. What they do is unbelievable. But, you know, I was just saying to Paul at the time, we was having a joke and a laugh. And I just knew at that time there was something that was going to happen. And we're so pleased you guys are coming on that journey with us. Life is a journey, as we all know, and it has its ups and downs and trials and tribulations. And in this trials and tribulations period that we've all been facing, there has always been some little glimmers of hope coming through. And for me, this has been one of those things. So thank you very much for going on the journey with us, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So we will see you here, this channel, 9 o'clock on Friday. And then we'll jump back to James's channel on the Wednesday for his haircut. And then back to mine for the colour. So if you've got any ideas for colours as well that you want to see, we'll be asking those next Wednesday as well. But can't wait to see the colour, mate. Can't wait to see what you're going to do with the rest of it.
Just, yeah, good stuff, guys.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. And we'll see you Friday.
Ciao, guys. Have a nice week.